let's talk about Harry and Meghan, because this amazing Spotify executive, who's like my new favorite person, given everything that he said here, he's criticizing them. He's calling them grifters because their deal with Spotify has gone belly up. His name is Bill Simmons, and he's the head of podcast innovation and monetization. That's his job title.
He didn't just call them grifters. He called them effing grifters. I believe he might be a Joe Rogan stan.
Well, good. Like, this guy's hilarious. It says an executive at Spotify called Prince Harry and Meghan grifters the day after the news dropped that the pair's podcast, Archetypes, would no longer be on streaming platforms.
Here's his pitch. The effing grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them. I gotta get drunk one night and tell the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try and help him with a podcast idea. It's one of my best stories. Bill Simmons, please.
Come on our show.
Appear as a guest on our show and tell us the story of this Zoom call.
We should reach out to him.
I'm dying to know.
We should reach out to him.
Honestly, I will.
I'm picturing him like on a Zoom call with Harry, who's like, every time a door closes behind him, he flinches really bad because he thinks Meghan's coming in to yell at him.
He just seems slow.
Yeah.
Is that just me?
No, I mean,
Harry seems like he's just not like all the way there upstairs.
Like, I love it. And like, I'm really picturing him just like every time he hears a brush or a gust of wind, he shrieks because he thinks Meghan's coming from another room to yell at him for something.
I mean, all Harry has is like recycled fake or exaggerated stories of him growing up as a royal, him, getting married as a royal. And you can only recycle and cannibalize those stories so many times when the memoir is out. And he's not very bright. Meghan Markle, all she has to sell as a personality is virtue signaling and whining and complaining all the time. That was literally the theme of her podcast, Archetypes.
We already know that Emily Ratatouille does it better anyways.
Archetypes is called Archetypes because she is constantly on every episode complaining about women getting reduced into stereotypical roles, complaining about being on Deal or No Deal when she actually studied international relations in college, so she's very cultured and worldly, and they just didn't give her the credit she deserved on Deal or No Deal. To think that you're an expert, by the way, in anything that you studied in college is so funny to me, by the way. Like,
why?
You have an undergrad in psychology. It doesn't make you a therapist.
Yeah.
So do you want to play the clip?
Yeah.
I sent this to you if you want to play it. From the Bill Simmons podcast.
Wait, when did you send it? Is it part of the article?
No, I just messaged it to you.
Okay, I got it here. Hold on. Oh, here it is. All right, let's play this.
We need this guy on the show.
Oh, please. No, here we go.
I'm going to pose this question to you. You do a lot of business deals, a lot of negotiations.
I do.
Well, let's just.
I wish I had been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The fucking grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them.
I love how
I
this
gotta
is
get
totally
drunk one night and
unrelated
tell
to the
story of
conversation.
the Zoom I
He
had
was
with Harry to try to help him with the
dying to
He just hates them, and he needed to get it off his chest.
podcast idea.
Do it.
It's one of my best stories.
Dude, there hasn't been a Drunk
Let's just-
Simmons podcast. Let's both get drunk and then it'll
Simmons.
just be drunk.
Save that idea.
It'll be really
Fucking-
easy.
He sounds like such a bro.
Yeah.
I love
He needs
it.
to go on Barstool.
He does. Like, he sounds like a bro. I'm here for it. Look, like, did anybody think anything else other than this? I would love to be able to see, because, like, I bet you Radikowski's podcast does fine. Maybe not given the size of her platform, but she's doing bigger numbers.
High
than,
Low
like,
isn't on Spotify, though, right?
But I'm saying, but in
It's
general,
sponsored
right?
by
Like, she's doing good
Sony
numbers.
or something.
They're doing bigger numbers than us, but they've got 3 times the name. Their name recognition is enormous. They should be
Exactly.
doing even bigger than that.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to listen to them whine.
If you actually look
People
at
want to listen to us whine.
Yeah.
They don't want to listen to them whine. They want to listen to us whine.
If you actually look at the videos that are posted from Emrata's podcast, they don't get that many views. And the buzz all comes from recycled headlines in the media saying, Emrata complains about men doing this. Emrata complains about men doing that. Being a single mom, dating, misogyny, da-da-da. It's just a factory of women whining.
You know what she should
Also-
you know what Meghan should do? She should start a briefcase company.
Meghan Markle should...
As an FU to Deal or No Deal, she should start a briefcase company.
she's good at doing the soy face.
She
it also says that Simmons did not hold his tongue about the royal couple even during the time they were under contract with Spotify. Last January, he blasted Prince Harry, saying it was embarrassing to be affiliated with the same company. Oh gosh, I don't know if I should say this part. He said, "Shoot this guy to the sun. I'm so tired of this guy. What does he bring to the table? He just whines about shit and keeps giving interviews. Who gives a shit? Who cares about your life?
Well, somebody's
you weren't
gotta
even
be
the favorite son.
Well, I mean,
you live in effing Montecito and you just sell documentaries and podcasts and nobody cares what you have to say about anything unless you talk about the royal family and you just complain about them."
Yeah. Yeah, see, Mary, nobody cares about what we have to say, but at least we're not complaining about the royals just for clout.
I mean, neither of us are here because we have sob stories.
Yeah.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are where they are now.
Yeah.
And have the money they have because they have sob stories that they're selling.
Every time I see that picture of her and him and Oprah, and I'm just like, it was all whining. The whole thing was whining.
I do genuinely like feel a tinge of pity for Prince Harry, but not because of any of the reasons he gives that he's been like put upon and oppressed. It's because he's being oppressed by his wife.
Yeah.
So it very clearly.
It's funnier if he didn't want to do the podcast deal, but she's like, no, we have to do it.
Yeah, they cut this short by what, like a whole year?
Yeah.
They had like a 2-year deal, and now
they don't get to keep all the money, or like they don't get the full 20 million. But that's not going to matter because supposedly, guys, Meghan is going to sign a $20 million 3-year deal with Dior. So her and Johnny Depp are going to do some tandem Dior ads together.
I really hope that this happens. Interesting choice, but she still has the deal. The Archwell Studios still has a deal with Netflix that's ongoing.
Yeah.
But they shot down a pitch that she had for an animated series for kids.
Imagine letting her like preach to your kids.
Plenty of people are crazy enough to let her. But they also were talking about making rom-coms. Like, I just don't want to see anything from these people.
I don't know, like
the only reason that their docuseries on Netflix got any traction was because of people hate watching it.
And it has to do with the royals. Like anything not connected to the royals isn't going to do well for them because that's their niche, right? And the royals are still
they're not famous for being themselves.
No, but but the royals are it's a public fascination, right? That goes beyond just them,
right?
It goes far longer than that. So like if you go to Newsweek. If you go to Newsweek's entertainment section, the top row is like current news. Everything under that is all royals news.
Yeah, it is weirdly like fascinating to Americans.
You know what he should do? He should start a podcast with Will Smith.
Bill Simmons?
No,
Prince Harry.
Him and Will Smith should start a podcast, and it's just called
The Ball and Chain.
Yeah. The Ball and Chain podcast with Will Smith and Prince Harry. The Fresh Prince and Prince Harry do a podcast together, and it's literally them just talking about being married to domineering women who make all the decisions and make your life miserable. And then they have Ben Affleck guest star because of Jennifer Lopez. And all three of them just sit there and they're all just Eeyore the whole time. And they're like,
people were mad at Jennifer Lopez for her Father's Day post of Ben Affleck, but not the father of her other children.
she's still like newly married.
I also didn't want to see Ben Affleck's shirtless mirror pic, but thanks for that, J-Lo.
You didn't like that? You didn't like he's in good shape.
Seems to be like something he didn't think would get out there, but
he's in good. It's funnier if that's like he sent that to her thinking it was like, this is just for you.
Yeah.
And then she shared it out. He's like, I didn't want you to share that with anyone. Look, just because you want to share pictures of you half naked does not mean I want to.
Certainly what it seems like.
Like, and that would make kind of sense, right? Like he's a little bit more conservative than she is probably.
Wait, Prince Harry is?
No, Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Like not conservative politically, but he's not sharing mirror pics of himself like half naked. I don't know, maybe he is.
You love when a guy doesn't post on social media. You love when that happens.
I was reading about Tom Clancy last night, and they were talking about the fact that even though he was an outspoken conservative, all the people that have played Jack Ryan have like been Democrats. And Ben Affleck was one of them in Sum of All Fears.
Well, who cares?
But they were pointing it out, and I was like, it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
They were never going to find
It's almost like having a whole category in award shows for non-binary actors.
Wouldn't
there
that
aren't
be-
enough of them to pick from.
I think there will be eventually.
Okay, I want to know, are there more conservatives in Hollywood behind closed doors or non-binary actors?
Behind closed doors?
No, are there more like out non-binary
I
people in
guarantee you
Hollywood
there are
or
more
conservatives?
closeted conservatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, according to our recent guest, Mike Lerner, there are a lot of closet conservatives in the entertainment industry, but they, to the public, show a different face, which is more despicable, I think, than being genuine in your leftist beliefs.
I don't know if I buy that. Like, I think that there's like some language being applied there. What they might take as conservative might just be more libertarian, live and let live ideals. Like they might.
A celebrity saying in private that they're pro-life and that they think abortion is evil,
okay,
and then publicly endorsing abortion, that's a very clear example of something that is a partisan issue that they're outwardly lying to their fan base about.
Yeah.
To get approval and affirmation, and that's more disgusting, I think, than just genuinely being pro-choice. I think.
Do you think that it's one of those? Well, what if it's one of those
have
things
some
where
integrity about it, or just don't speak on political issues at all if you're a celebrity, because it's not your place.
What if it's one of those things where they don't want to talk about it, but it gets brought up in interviews? Like we say, a lot of the times. These people end up cornered in these interviews where they're forced to make some type of statement.
Really that much?
Well, if you say no comment, that's a comment to them. Like if you say no comment on this topic,
there are so many ways to
they'll say so and so refused to speak.
Neutral on a topic.
They'll say so and so refused to speak on this.
Staying neutral these days is considered a political line as well.
Yeah,
but I don't think that it's celebrities' place to be preaching to us about politics, no matter what side they're on.
Yeah,
on any issue, just have some integrity about it if you're going to.
Who do you think is meaner to their husband, Meghan, Jada, or J-Lo? And then Meghan, okay. Oh my, that's what we'll do. Okay, no, it's one big podcast, right? So how often do they release podcasts? Usually, they're not like us where they release it every day. Hold on, Unusable Alpaca, we'll come back to it. Hold on, just hold on. So what they do, if they release their podcasts once a week, right? So say the first Monday and the third Monday is the Big Psy podcast. That's the boys. That's Ben Affleck. That's Prince Harry, and it's Will Smith. And they're just sitting there complaining about the women and how they treat them. And then the second week and the fourth week, that's Angry Women podcast, and that's Jada, Meghan, and J-Lo, and they have roundtables where they bitch about the others, and then like at the end of it, they have a dual podcast where they all sitting around in a row together, and they have a big panel.
They're gonna bring back Red Table Talk.
Let's go!
I get the feeling that Jada is definitely the worst. I mean, at least Prince Harry and Ben Affleck haven't been like overtly like cucked in the public eye.
Yep. We got a $20 one from Unusable Alpaca.
Oh, yeah. One of my worst revelations in my history of entertainment viewing was when I realized Meghan Markle was the hot chick in Suits. Such an amazing show that I'm so very happy I finished before the realization.
Yeah, like for me, dude, this is one of those things where like I'm able to watch old things. That's not true. Like I can block it out for the most part. Nowadays, it's more about the entertainment being bad. The celebrity being annoying doesn't really bother me as much. When I watch
celebrities have always been annoying.
Yeah, like the only thing that's different is that social media became a thing, and now you have access to their really, really stupid thoughts 24/7. But she's so fantastic in that show that it really is a shame that you know what she's like in her private life. But you should never look to celebrities to be any type of moral guide anyways. So just enjoy Suits for what it is, my friend. And
Grit
Suits
your
is
teeth and bear it.
Suits is a fantastic show. And what's his name? The guy who plays Mike Ross in that show, Patrick J. Adams, he's married to Donald Bellisario's daughter, Troyan. I don't know how to pronounce her name. She's from Pretty Little Liars. I usually think it was Trojan Bellisario, but it's Troian. It looked like a J. Troyan. So he's married to her. So he's married into the Bellisario family. But something tells me she probably wears the pants in that relationship too, because
I think most Hollywood women wear the pants in their relationships.
Yeah.
But then also rely on their husbands and their army of nannies to make this work-life balance that they have with their careers viable.
Are there any movies about Hollywood, about the dark world of Hollywood nannies?
I would love to see that.
Is that a thing? I bet you somebody in the chat knows.
It's just that all of those nannies would be sacrificing their careers to be in it.
It would have to be done as they're older and they've already retired.
We've got one from Dave Gazzuli. He said, if Harry and Meghan do finally get their privacy, I will consider it a great day for Canada and therefore the world.
Well, they've been searching for that privacy in a bunch of public places for ages now, and they just can't seem to find it.
Yeah.
Is that
doing a podcast twice a month?
Yeah.
Where all you do on it is complain and invite other guests who have a penchant to complain. Like, imagine that privilege.
At least do it 5 days a week like us.
Yeah, at least complain about your life 5 days a week.
If you're going to complain on a podcast,
commit to the bit.
Do it full time. Don't give me any of this, I'm a twice a month complainer podcast garbage. You have to complain 5 days a week or you're not a pro complainer.
This is also not a mutual decision that they made to part ways, even though the PR statement said that.
Yeah.
They had to explain very explicitly that Harry and Meghan were not reaching productivity benchmarks to justify continuing the contract.
China Reyes in the chat says, I think famous people need to be with famous people. I've never seen successful relationships with a famous and a normie.
But do you know about them?
There are plenty of TV couples, like people who act, who marry like regular people. Also, Dolly Parton is married to a guy who's just, he was a construction worker, he's a contractor.
You know more about celebrity couples because they're celebrity couples, basically. Right? So you know more of their mess. But you're right that like when you're in the A-list category, these are egos and like mental illnesses that just butt heads, and it's usually doomed to fail.
In the chat, Flash is barely a top 35 greatest superhero movies ever made. Says, sounds like PCC. Yes, but we complain 5 days a week. You see.
Yeah.
So we're professional.
And we complain about other people, not our own lives.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I actually made a post last night. Like, what I've realized is that, like, anybody can, like, recognize how good they have it when things are good. But being able to recognize how blessed you are when things are actually in a downturn, that's actually one of the best things you can learn how to do, right? And that comes through time and perspective. So if you've struggled for any period of time, it allows you to more adequately access what that was like mentally. So that way, when things are just a little bit down or things are just kind of a little bit annoying, you're like, look, things are a bit of a problem right now. I'm kind of struggling right now, but overall, I'm very, very lucky to have all that I have. It would behoove them, Harry and Meghan and Jada and Will, and all of these people to like every once in a while be like, look, yeah, it sucks that people say mean things about us. Yes, my job comes with a unique set of concerns that normal people wouldn't be able to understand. But on the whole, I'm extremely blessed and fortunate to have all that I have. I think a little bit of that would go a long way for these people. Like if they're trying to reconnect with the average person.
This also doesn't have to be her job. Like she never needed to be in the public eye in the first place, but this is the spouse that she chose and actively pursued, and now she's complaining about the consequences. And like you're like one of the most privileged women in human history and have made it your job to complain about women getting held back. The description of Archetypes is a podcast where we investigate, dissect, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. What labels have held Meghan Markle back? She's like on top of the world, is a literal princess with tens of millions of dollars. I don't see what's worth complaining about there.
Yeah.
Or how she's been held back, especially not for racial reasons.
Is it
She's
just the market?
Completely like tarred and feathered the country that she moved to.
Is it just the market because they know that this is what women would want to listen to another woman speak about?
It's not a popular podcast. Yeah. I mean, you could say that about like the Call Her Daddy podcast. That's the biggest podcast for women on Spotify, period. That's, I mean, they do some complaining on there, sure, but most of it is just like girls talking about dating, talking about their skincare routines, talking about relationships. They're not trying to get all academic, you know what I mean? Like Call Her Daddy started out as like a raunchy hookup podcast.
I think part of that might be that, look, that's coming from people who are considered fairly normal in profile. Like maybe they're famous now, but when it started, they weren't Meghan Markle, and they definitely weren't Jada Pinkett Smith. They weren't Emily Ratajkowski.
Then they got famous just because of their personalities.
Exactly. So I'm saying, but like
which
these
is
other
more
women,
respectable.
These other women come in with a previously famous persona
Yeah.
and complain, and that's different. I
Yeah.
think. Like maybe I'm wrong about that. To me, that would color my perception of it, right? Like if I'm listening to an everyday person, even an everyday person that's successful, I'm going to look at it differently than some famous person with some type of high profile who's complaining about things that just can't relate, that as a regular person I just can't relate to, right? So the things that bother me or the things that are going to affect my life every day aren't the things that are going to affect a celebrity's everyday life. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have something to complain about. Everyone's got something to complain about, but that just means that the things that you need to complain about aren't marketable as something to sell.
Do you need a $200 million platform to complain about those things?
No.
Like, couldn't you just talk to your friends and family about it
That's what I
instead
mean,
of
like,
broadcasting it to the world?
The average
I'm
everyday
getting mad when
person-
people rightly react saying like, no, you're actually entitled.
The average everyday person, their complaining is marketable.
Yeah.
A famous person complaining
She
is
has
not
no
marketable.
relatable problems.
Yeah.
So even though she has problems, if we can't relate to them, I'm not gonna act like I sympathize.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.